afternoon, guys, and welcome back to the Keynote Theatre. Very exciting session coming up, the Delegate Wranglers live show. So if you haven't heard of the Delegate Wranglers, you've obviously been living under a rock, because it is the event industry's most engaged online community, founded by the amazing Neil Thompson. So I am delighted to hand over to Neil and his awesome panel of senior event profs who are going to be chatting about lots of exciting things. And there's going to be the opportunity to interact, to ask questions throughout. So if you have a question, don't be afraid to throw up your hand. We have mics, COVID-safe mics going around. And that's it. So over to you, Neil.
Thank you, Juliet. How much do I owe you for that nice introduction?
It was absolutely on brand.
Yeah. So, first of all, thank you very much for coming out to see us. This is the first ever DW live show. Dom, who would have thought this back in March when we started this little...
It's not even March this year, it was March last year when we had
the
stupid idea of doing 1 or 2 shows in the group, and 60 episodes later, we're on the stage at Confex.
Honestly, thank you for coming out. We're really delighted to be here. Thank you to Mash Media and the Confex team for inviting us. Thank you for coming along.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, in this session, we're going to explore what the last 18 months has taught us, and most importantly, how we're going to use this information going forward from now on. Is it a matter of the industry getting back to normal? Or are we thinking bigger than that? And if so, what are we going to do and how are we going to do it? That's right.
Absolutely, and we can only really scratch the surface of this today. This is a much bigger topic than 50 minutes allows us to cover. But joining us for the discussion, on my left we have the fantastic Jack Sawards from Saward Marketing and Events, and then further over to the left, Joe Austin from Lime Venues Portfolio, who is hopefully, and together we will navigate our way through the very top level of this subject.
Yeah, because this could go massive. So, as Juliet said, please feel free to put your hand up for any questions as we go along, or there will be time at the end. One rule about the questions: easy ones for me, tricky ones for them. So, Joe, do you want to tell us a bit about your journey, into the events world and what your role is now at LVP?
So LVP is the largest portfolio of venues in the UK currently, and my journey to that was through meetings and conference and events and hotels, and I'm looking out into the audience and recognising so many people that I've worked with over the last, I'm not going to tell you how many years. So my meetings, conference and events journey has got me to this place, and the last 18 months has been, just pretty scary, but this industry is resilient, and the people in it are fighters, and we all value what we do and how we do that, and it's just amazing to see everybody today, and I can't tell you how delighted I am to be here with you guys actually sharing that. So a big shout out and thank you for showing up. Amazing.
Yeah, totally agree. Jack, same question to you. Tell us a bit about your journey very briefly.
Yeah, very briefly, I'm probably one of those second generations, so I was born into events. I can remember as far back as 8, 9 and 10 packing giveaway boxes for conferences for pocket money. When people were playing Tetris on the Game Boy, I was playing Tetris packing a back of a Luton van for a conference or an event. So yeah, I've seen a few changes over those years and then earned a few grey hairs, shall we say.
You're covering them well. I'll pitch this to both of you, but Jack, I'll come to you first. How has the last 18 months changed us, not only commercially, but also personally? What have you seen? Has your approach to work changed? How have you dealt with the last 18 months?
I think communication has been key over the last 18 months. The show of strength and resilience. You really get to know the people in the industry who you have built those relationships with, and those that disappear. Those that you thought you had strong relationships with let's just say, aren't as strong as what they were, what you thought of. And I think that actually, in a way, if you put a positive slant on that actually helps you, because it prepares you for where we're going to go. You really do become resilient in the fact that you know who you would call on. And I think that's what I've tried to do over the past 18 months as well, is try and share that knowledge, share that experience, guide some people who've been struggling. I think we had a conversation early doors on one of your first contacts, Neil, in terms of, you get to know the strength of your phone book, and I think investing in that time in the people in the phone book has been so important over the past 18 months.
Same question, Joe.
Yeah, I think for me, I think it's just made us all realise the fragility of the whole world, and whilst we were all 100 miles an hour working towards achieving targets and goals, we probably missed some really good touch points along the way, and I think the last 18 months has taught us all to be kinder to ourselves and each other. I think it's taught us to probably prioritise. I've been a road warrior for 30 years, and I can't imagine going back to doing 35,000 miles a year in order to do my job. And I think, so we're all looking at doing things differently. But I think it's also taught us to communicate. It's taught us a different way of communication. I think it's taught us to, the big thing, and I know it's a real cliche, but being kind to each other and actually really getting to know each other. I've worked with my team for a long time, and I think the last 18 months we've really cemented our relationship. And that's because I know their dogs, their cats, their kids, their studies, their kitchens, and just things like that. And I think we should just never underestimate there's some positives come out of this, but also I think we're all really ready to get back at it.
Yeah, on that as well, what do you think we've learned about the industry in general? Collaboration and cooperation has really come to the fore. Even like what would have been competitors before teaming up or helping each other or passing on leads and things like this. What's been your experience of that, Joe?
Definitely collaboration and definitely working together. And I think that there's a lot of people have lost their jobs in this, through this, and a lot of people have been on furlough. It's been hard for people actually not in the business as well as the people in the business. I think collaboration, communication is just been absolutely crucial. Sharing stories, and actually asking people what have we all learned. And I ask myself on a really regular basis, if I'd known then what I know now, what would I do differently? And there is quite a lot I would do differently. I think we all very, very knee-jerk reacted. I don't think any of us initially knew it was going to go on for this long. But then when we were actually all faced to make some tough decisions, I look now and I see, we've got skill gaps in our fabulous industry. We've lost people who were terrific at their roles, and given these great skills that they've learned across the years to other industries. And, we've got to pioneer now to get this industry back. And I think we will all do that if we work together on that and give people great career paths and great career pathways and great career journeys. And we should absolutely look to doing that together.
Just touching on what you said there about what do I wish I knew now, which I wish I knew now. Mine would be to buy shares in Zoom. Definitely.
Or Amazon.
Yeah.
Zoom and Amazon. They're the only two that matter.
Yeah. Definitely. So, Jack, same question to you as well. What do you think we've learned about that?
The collaboration thing is quite an interesting one, because I don't think people will be as quick to try and build their empire again. I think they'll have seen the overheads that they were running with and how they've had to manage those overheads. And from an example, over the past 4 weeks, I've had 5 peers in the industry contact me and said, look, this project is going to be too big for us now. Would you consider working alongside us on this project? So I think we'll start to see more of that. And I also think we've got a depth of talent coming into the industry, which we can't ignore. And there's real opportunities if we get the balance right, because you can't throw a load of new talent on a project and not have the experience as well. But I do think, yes, we're losing talent from the industry, but we've got a lot of talent coming into the industry as well. We always have. So it's how we nurture that talent, because when it comes to some of the tech that's coming on board, I trust my daughters to do a lot of my tech, so this new talent that's coming in know far more about some of the tech than what some of the older generation in the industry know.
Look forward to your next TikTok video, Jack.
He's going to do the dance at the end. Stick around.
No, they've already tried and prime me for that from Lizzie Williamson in Australia, so that's not going to happen.
I think you and I were talking about collaboration earlier and the need to continue that and deepen the collaboration. We are we're passing work around to other people. We're being passed work from other video production companies. Even some of the tech platforms around here, I was talking to the guys from Avesio earlier, who physically can't take on video production. They've partnered with 2 or 3 smaller businesses to provide that to their clients. So we're all finding ways to collaborate, and I think it's pulling everyone together. It's giving us that better step up and that ability to take everything forward. Because as you said, I'm not in a huge rush to build an empire anymore. I just want to see what happens over the next year, 18 months, see how the industry performs, how it comes back. But that's not going to stop new business coming in, but we've just got to pass it around smarter and work smarter, I guess.
And just a very, very quick addition to that is clients like an account manager. You know, as event planners, they want a point of contact that they rely on, but they're not daft either. They know that one company can't do everything. Yeah. So as long as we're transparent with that, as long as they understand and the quality of the service doesn't suffer, they just want the final result. So I think there is huge opportunity for that collaboration to grow.
Yeah, I think it's massively important, the collaboration thing. Could I just ask a quick question to the audience, a quick show of hands? How many people used the time over the last 18 months to kind of reevaluate the business, reevaluate what they were doing? Did a lot of people do that? I know. I'm going to put my hand up. Yeah.
I think we all did.
It's been a great opportunity.
But I think let's extend that as well. How many of you also found ways to collaborate with other people, be they other people in the events industry, competitors? Have you found ways to collaborate with others?
And as we said, guys, any questions, please just put your hand up and we'll come round with the mic. So we touched on being kind, Jack. Quite rightly so. It's an important factor. Do you think things have changed towards you, the way you're dealing with people, the way you deal with people? And I know you've had a crazy couple of months. I suppose what I'm asking, Jack, are people being nice to you?
I don't know. You'd have to ask some of the team. I think we've got a better understanding. I think you were just touching before in terms of getting a better understanding of the people and the families behind the people delivering. And I think we still need to get results. We've still got a project to deliver. And I think as long as everyone is focused on delivering that project, the way you used to deliver it isn't the only way now that you can deliver it. So we're a lot more flexible in that approach. We're a lot more understanding in terms of, right, does that have to happen on a Monday or could it happen on a Tuesday so that person can get to the doctor's appointment? Do they have to be in the office today or could they be in the office on Wednesday? Is that really going to suffer on the project nature? So I think we've got a bit more understanding in terms of the people behind the businesses that we're running. Are people being kind to me? I don't know. When they see their invoice, I don't know whether they're being kind. It depends whether they pay it straight away. But
I'm kind to you, Jack.
You try to be. Maybe not this fella over here, but you try to be.
What about you, Joe? Because I think from a venue perspective, this is really interesting.
I think it is really interesting. I think people are trying to be kind. But we have a business to build back. We have an industry to build back. And, I pioneer constantly for the venues. Who are at the sharp end of absolutely everything, we've moved business from this month to that month to the next month. We have customers who want us to hold space for the next 6 months but won't sign a contract. We've got customers who actually know that 300 people are going to turn up but they only want to sign a contract for 100. And we are being kind and we're being flexible and we are trying our damnedest to work with every single piece of business individually. And I know my competition are doing exactly the same, but we have to, if people want space, if we want to get this industry back, if we want to get our world working back again properly, then being kind isn't quite enough. We've got to be understanding of each other's needs to get our world back.
You're touching on a question that we were going to come to later on, but I'm going to come to it now because Neil wanted to discuss the C word, which was commitment. And everything that you're saying here actually is you need commitment. The only way we can move forward, yes, we need kindness and we need compassion, but actually venues and suppliers and anyone connected to an event needs the commitment.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I'm kind of looking round here and recognising a lot of familiar faces. And, I would kind of sort of say, how many pieces of business are you holding for the next quarter that you have a signed piece of paper that means if that event does not happen, you could get a cancellation charge? And, in order for our world to get back to normal and to get people back in work and to get people doing what they're doing well, I think how we sell is very different moving forward. I've been in sales all my career, and I think how I'm actually selling right now is very different to how I sold before. We're doing a very features, it's always been very features-led as our industry. Fantastic venue, look at the view, look at the size, look at the height, look at this. It's now got to be about benefits. It's the benefit-led piece, and I think that links to the flexibility around contracting and commitment, but also around some of the other things that I think as we move out of this world are going to be really important, and that is things like sustainability and choosing the right partner and the right venue, and for your events moving forward.
So just before we move on to the sustainability side, because I know that's something else we're going to touch on in a moment, are you saying that the flexibility in contracting that you've had to offer in the last 18 months is likely to disappear, or are you just going to have to refine that slightly to make it work better for both parties?
In our industry, as a venue, we, customers ring us today and they want us to hold space. And the minute we say we'll hold that space, we can't sell that to anybody else. And even if we haven't got a signed contract, most of our venues operate in a way that it's a moral code of conduct that we would not, sell that space to somebody else. But actually, we've got certain dates where, we're turning business away. And let's be honest, that piece of business that we've said yes to is only a great piece of business if the next phone call isn't better.
Yeah.
Right? But actually, our customers and, the third parties involved in that have to really help us on this now. We've been holding space in some of our venues, absolutely terrific space in some of our venues for customers for 6 months, and they're still interested in doing it. And actually, if we were then to sell that to somebody else, well, that'd be a problem for us.
Yeah.
From a PR point of view,
yeah.
From a never going to work with you again point of view, from a actually you'll never get any business from that agent point of view. And we've just got to start working together on this, I think, moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So the title of this this talk was, building back stronger or moving forward differently. The £85 billion question. Anyone who knows about the event industry will know that's what it's worth each year. What the strategy is going to be? What's your feelings on that? Are we going to be going back to what we were doing and kind of making it, the same as what we had, or do you think we'll move forward differently? I know you're talking about contracting then, I'm just talking about generally. Do we think there's going to be a difference, Jack?
I think it depends on the event. I really do think it depends on the event, the size of the event, the venue for the event. Is it an internal event, an external event? What the market area is? Are you trying to attract an international audience, a local audience? Is it a webinar? Is it a trade show? So it's a really difficult one to put a one answer to. I think the role of an event planner, an event manager, a venue is to say, right, what options do we have at our disposal that best meets a client's brief? And we're trying to put a package together. And I think I always talk about a candy store. You say this is the core element that you have to have, and these are the other elements that you could choose to have if you can afford. And if they're wanting all singing, all dancing, they pick everything off the sheet. But if they can't afford it, we're trying to give them as many options as they can and advise what the best way forward is to best spend that money, because monies will run out. They always do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it will be different. I think, the last 18 months has taught us that we don't actually have to get in our car and drive hundreds of miles to achieve our goals and our targets. But I don't think we should ever underestimate the value of face-to-face meetings and what actually the impact that has on, mental health for a start, and actually just general well-being of people getting out and interacting with colleagues. I think it will be different. Maybe not one massive great event, and actually maybe 3 regional events. But I think getting key messages is absolutely crucial, and there is no better medium to do that than face-to-face meetings.
Yeah, I think the industry's going to evolve as well. That's one thing we do all the time. We constantly adapt and evolve. Oh, and we've got a question at the back. If we can just run the mic. Hello.
Just a question. I've just recently come from sort of being at the coalface at a venue, where at the moment I think hotels and venues are struggling to have the staff to be able to actually deal with the inquiries that are coming in. So there's lots and lots of inquiries coming to the door, but hotels haven't got that staff to be able to actually fulfill them and keep their own integrity and do a really good job. Do you think that's a blip in the road? Do you think there has to be strategies around what can be taken and what can't be taken, and how we see that moving forward? And do you think there's a plan? Do we need to have a plan as to how we're going to bring more people in to get over the problem?
It's a great question, because it's something, honestly, I've probably had 10 people come up to me saying staffing problems, can't find the staff. Are you finding this, Joe, as well?
Oh gosh, absolutely, at every level. I mean, I'm kind of looking out there and I'm seeing Angela from our Levy sales team, who actually worked match day this weekend to support, Aston Villa in terms of a big home game. So, we're absolutely, everybody is absolutely mowed out. It's really, really, really challenging getting people back. We did have kind of Pingate, didn't we, where we thought we'd got them all back, and then we ended up having people who couldn't work again for 10 days, and we've got over that. But it is, but again, I don't think we realise how much people wanted to get back into travelling, into meeting, into staycations, all of those things. I don't think we realised actually how much people wanted that.
And I think the travel discussion that you just had there is important as well, because we've got a lot of peers who work on our projects here in the UK that travel over to work here on our projects, and we're without that capacity, and we're only just starting to see that filter back in. So some of our best event crews, when we're building big multi-building structures, are some of the crews from Slovenia, some of the crews from Poland. We've got an international community, and I know we're talking here at an event here in the UK, but our industry is a huge international industry. And when we can't lay our hands on those really key staff that can help deliver a really successful project, it is going to have an impact in terms of delivery.
Yeah, and I think, Joe, going back to what you were saying, talking about the commitment side, that therein lies a problem, doesn't it? Because clients aren't committing, the venues can't take the staff on to handle the inquiries.
But also, surely there has to be an element of nervousness from an employee perspective now, where they suddenly found themselves in a position where they didn't have a job. The event industry got absolutely hammered. The thing they had done for years was decimated. And now there's while there might be the desire to hold the events, there has to be a nervousness in those people saying, I'm not sure if I want to go back yet. And I know that's impacting venues, it's impacting the ability to put on events.
There's an awful lot of thought process around this autumn as to whether we're going to another lockdown, as to whether there's going to be another wave. And actually all these people who we've got back and all these contracts and all this lovely bit of business that we've had in, we're going to turn around at 48 hours notice and say you can't come. There's still that, because it's happened, hasn't it? And once something's happened, until we really do get through this and get over this and learn to live with COVID, which is what we've all got to do, then, there is always going to be that element. We've lost people in our industry to retail, to, logistics, and at the moment they're safe and they feel that's safe. And so actually going back to work for those longer hours and that, not sure what my shift pattern's going to be over the next 2 weeks, depending on who signs the contract and who comes back, I think is going to be equally challenging.
I think, to answer the question, to come back to it, I think we're seeing a blip in the road, but it's not a permanent damage.
And I think absolutely, because absolutely genuinely, I think the minute people start doing things in their personal life, that conveys through to what we do at work. And, you know, there's people who are now going abroad on holiday, so we'll all get back to work and people actually all be going on holiday abroad soon, won't they? And there's people who are going out to football games and all of a sudden that's okay, so you don't mind coming to Confex, do you? Because you were at Liverpool at the weekend, weren't you? And, you know, and I think all of that, when we do something in our personal lives, we actually feel much more comfortable about doing that in our work lives. And you know, this is what happens, isn't it? When we will see this wave coming back, without a doubt, yeah.
Well, Neil.
And as a Liverpool fan, we were robbed at the weekend. Anyway, so Joe, moving forward, you know, you're a massive champion at LVP for all things sustainability. I know it's been a huge thing, and quite rightly so. I'm delighted to see it. Do you see this thing being high on the way LVP are approaching things and the things that clients are asking for? Is that a big change?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, I think we are going to build back better, but I think it is also going to be very, very different. And I think the priorities of event planners, event bookers is going to be very, very different. And in particular, the end users, so our corporate clients who've got massive sustainability pillars all over their websites, who are you know, actually sponsoring COP26 potentially or whatever. It will be very hard for those corporates to actually book meetings, conference and events in an unsustainable way. So I think, you know, the fragility of what we've all been through over the last 18 months, the one thing that I think is going to come out of this is how we do events better, how much more considered our approach has to be for events moving forward, and actually that's absolutely every bit. And you know, this isn't about stopping people travelling for meetings and conference and events. It's about choosing the partners that you work with well enough to know that they have the same sustainable agenda as you do, and actually that matches the end user and the clients.
Do you know what,
and it's
Joe?
going nowhere.
It's not just a box ticking exercise,
Absolutely
is it? Clients genuinely want to do this because they want to make a difference.
Yeah, and they have to be seen to do this. This isn't about just saying we are sustainable. This is actually about having credible statements that can back up some of those real and bold statements about sustainability. And you know, it's at absolutely every level. It's at website build, it's at stand build, it's at getting rid, you know, waste. And you know, I actually tackle this with my LVP and my Compass hat on as from a food point of view, which actually is the biggest challenge in the world actually. So you know, working for a large organisation, I've got an awful lot of expertise and backing that helps me drive this agenda through our business at LVP and our venues. But it is absolutely huge, and this is going nowhere, you know, and it's going to cost us if we don't start doing the right things soon.
I'm interested to get your take on this, Jack, because take the marketing hat off and put the events hat on for the moment. What are you getting? What are clients throwing at you from a sustainability perspective?
I'll put one word to it, and it's going to be money. You know, it's can they afford to do it? You know, because when you put it down on paper and say, yes, there's a real sustainable option here, and this is it, and this is what you used to have, they've got to be able to fund it. You know, so there's still a long way to go before we influence the financial director to say, yes, this is the right thing for a company to move forward.
I mean, profit and planet have never gone side by side.
No.
Ever.
No.
But actually, when the governments start getting involved and start saying things like, you know, it's about doing the best you can possibly do, and if we don't start doing that, then it's going to cost businesses. And then they engage large organisations and FTSE 100 organisations on their journey, then it's the start of something. And it has to start somewhere, doesn't it? We just all have to start doing things better. But you're absolutely right, Jack. I mean, you know, profit and planet have never gone side by side.
But it could be something quite as simple as, you know, we've seen many really nice looking stands in the event today. You could lose 10 square meters of your stand, have the same budget, and actually have a sustainable stand. That's what we're talking about in terms of cost. You know, so it's just about thinking differently.
And education. And, you know, like I say, my role in my organisation is from a food perspective. And the biggest thing I can do for our teams, our people, my business, for my customers is give them the knowledge to make the better decisions. And I think that's where, you know, as event professionals, we have a responsibility to our planet, to our industry, to make sure we don't get left behind on that. But it is about education.
Yeah, and Jo, for anyone who wants to talk to Jo, she's a real expert on sustainability. So I'm her agent. You can come and see me. So,
does that mean you're my agent, Dom?
I'm afraid so.
Oh, no.
Are you in?
Short straw.
good luck. So obviously, this is quite a tough question. Talking about, you know, obviously I love live events. And obviously, there's been the dawn of hybrid events. Do you think this is something that is going to continue? I mean, obviously, we're in this kind of crossover period at the moment where we're doing hybrid events and we're having to do in-person events as well. Do you think that will continue once we get past, say, 6 months down the line, 12 months down the line?
I think it probably will. And I think the reality is it's always been there. It's just that the last 18 months, it was our only option. But then, lots of our business invested quite heavily in this and actually haven't seen any return from it because people just weren't doing anything. So, I think this will always be an option, and it should be, and done well. I think there's an education piece on this because a real hybrid event is not as cheap as people would like it to be. And the minute you start talking about it properly with an absolute proposal around all the things that entails to do that well, to deliver that event well, it's actually kind of cost prohibitive compared to actually getting people together in a venue. And I think that's the realisation, and back to education, that's actually happened over the last 18 months. But I think it will always be there, and I think there is a place for it. I think there is an absolute place for it.
I think it is important to remind ourselves that it has always been there. I ran a live streaming company for 18 months. We're 3 years old today, my business. I ran my company successfully for 18 months as a live streaming company prior to COVID happening, and then we had to go virtual. But the very nature of what we did, we were live streaming an event for an audience that couldn't be at the physical. So we were doing hybrid and virtual events before they got cool. And that's not going to change. We're using the terminology differently, we're applying the terminology differently, but fundamentally what we're doing hasn't changed at all.
Yeah, and I think exactly what you said there in terms of people weren't using that technology and weren't thinking about those experiences. And at the end of the day, as event industry professionals, we create experiences, and what does that individual take away from them? And we've all been at exhibitions or events before where you can't attend, you click into the show, the only thing you can do for that stand is download or go onto the website or download a PDF. Now, hybrid doesn't mean that it has to be live streamed from the event itself. It's about what experience can you offer alternatively, because we've talked about venues, and we nearly collaborated on a piece, and the venue wasn't suitable to run a live stream from. So some people who are creating these events need to think, if you are going to run it in the first place, have you got the right venue?
And the right technology and the right platforms, and actually get the right people in and the experts, because genuinely, I know, my business, we've got some absolute experts at delivering terrific events, fabulous banqueting, superb meetings, conferences. I also know where we would be weak in terms of technology to do a hybrid event well. So it's about picking the right partner, doing it well. And I think it has always been there, and it is always and should be moving forward an option for people.
I mean, we're taking massive strides forward. If you think about the last 18 months, how far forward we've come, I think it's going to continue to grow and grow and grow. So I think it's still here myself to stay. It's always been the elephant in the room, hasn't it? Technology, to be able to use that to have a meeting. But we're all here. This is what people enjoy as well. I'm not saying instead of, but this is the meeting industry. We like meeting. So if we can't do that, or we can extend it to hybrid, to online people, all the better for me.
Absolutely, or even make that meeting even more cost effective because you can reach more people. You know, your meeting is happening, but you have the ability to reach more people. And, you know, how many times do we have a company conference, but somebody's got to be back at the fort holding, you know, answering the phones? Well, we can actually incorporate that, and actually that's a real positive message, isn't it? You know, you can't actually be there, but this is actually what we do, but it has to be done well, because our industry, you know, the memorable experiences that we create for people are what people remember, and you know, if it's not done well, we're letting ourselves and our industry down.
We've all at some point been that individual that's been sent to a conference to rapidly take notes to feed back to the team. We don't have to do that now. You know, we can actually live stream that. You know, if they wanted to watch, you know, a debate like this, we can live stream, and the rest of the team are watching it back at the office.
Yeah, hopefully this is being recorded, and we're going to stream this to the group. So, hello to everybody on the Delegate Wranglers watching this later on. So, on that, Joe, I was just going to say, communication. You know, what you mentioned earlier about you're not going to be driving 30,000 miles in your car anymore. Are you zoomed out? Are you embracing this new way of communicating with people? How are you feeling on it?
Do you know what? It's when in sales, it's always about interactions with people. It's always about communication. And what has been absolutely amazing is when my team, who work all over the UK in different businesses and what have you, in previous years when we've sat down and had our one-to-ones and had a chat, and I've said, right, you know, what do you want more? What can I give you more? And they've all said, actually, it'd be great. We just need a bit more Joe time. I could do to spend a bit more time with you, Joe. I could just do to... Anyway, actually, if you ask any of them now, they'll go, we've had enough of her, right? Because we put a plan in place that at 10 o'clock every day, we'd all get on a call. We'd actually look at each other on a camera. You know, the first week was actually all a bit daunting, wasn't it? Nobody likes looking at yourself. Nobody likes it. But actually, it's just become part and parcel of what we do. So we'll never go back to actually communicating as little as we did. And I've loved that. I've loved that we're all together, and you know, even though we're not in the same room, I can actually, you know, sense if the team are in a good place, in a bad place. You know, you join if you can, if you've got another call, or you're actually out on meetings now, which is amazing. You don't have to, you know. But I think that is, you know, I'm not frightened of Zoom anymore. I'm not frightened of Teams anymore. I actually really engage in it. And actually, our phone bills have gone completely down since all this, right? Yeah. Because we're all doing it on Teams. And, you know, I
find it really odd now when someone suggests that we actually just have a normal call, and it's not, it doesn't include a video.
Yeah, and you can't see, and you actually even start looking at your phone like that, don't you? Oh gosh, I've got to answer it like that. And it is, and I think that, you know, I don't think we'll ever go back to doing it. I think it's just become what we simply do now.
How about you, Jack?
Well, I must have been the only person who ever used to use Skype. You know,
you know what? I was just going to ask. I was just going to say a quick poll to everyone: who here has used Zoom in the last 18 months? Zoom or Teams? Put your hand up.
Come on.
Who would? Okay, hands down. Who would have been terrified before this if somebody said to you, "Can we Skype?" I'd have been terrified. Exactly that.
But as much as I'd like to, you know, with some of my international clients, I can't go see them face to face every time. So whenever we used to get an inquiry in, one of the first things I used to say was, can we jump on a Skype? Because, you know, we all know that human interaction and listening to someone is far better than actually reading a brief, you know. So it was something that we always did, and I think more and more companies will do that as a way of gatekeeping inquiries. You know, we used to travel quite a lot to go and have that initial meeting with businesses. We don't need to do that anymore. We can go through that gatekeeping. When we know it's a qualified lead, we then invest the time and money to move it forward.
But do you think you're missing out on those relationships that you build when you take someone for lunch? Or you know what I mean? There's a balance, isn't there, here?
It's been easier to have a relationship over the last 18 months with people you had a relationship with before. I'm not sure on a new customer or that actually I'm going to build that relationship that quickly through that medium. But it's certainly been, when you have a relationship with people, it's actually been an absolutely great way. And the other thing is, people have had time to talk to you. And actually I've been really quite pleased that you've reached out, because actually they've been sat a bit staring into a void like we have. So we've kind of, taken that opportunity, and I think that's been a real positive around you. I don't think you will ever get away from relationship building when you get to know people and their interests and meeting face to face. And relationships of longevity, take some time to build, don't they? And and I'm looking forward to getting back and actually, having a glass of wine with some of my, colleagues, customers, moving forward. I don't think you can ever take that away.
I don't think I'm going to be the only one here that has met someone for the first time at Confex that prior to 18 months ago they hadn't met.
Yeah, I won't be ringing him again.
But that's happened. There's been loads of relationships, and Natasha, I know she was in the audience earlier, but I'd never met her until today. And like all of those, there's a ton of people that I've met that I have built decent relationships with, and we're all in the same position where walking around today, or even doing the show with Neil, there's been loads of people that we've connected with through doing the show that we're meeting for the first time today, and it's been fascinating and brilliant at the same time.
And I think some of that is because we haven't had the time to create those new relationships. We've gone back to where we know because we know the job will get done. And actually what we've done, I go back to our conversation, Neil, is we've enhanced our phone books. We've now got 3 suppliers who can offer this really well instead of just one, because we've invested the time, because we've had the time. And there's people who I have met during this process that I will pick up the phone to and trust on a project of mine, and I haven't even seen them work yet, because I've understood them, I get their values, I've seen some of the quality of the work that they've shown me, and I've got the confidence to do that. So there's been huge benefits to this difficult period as well.
Yeah. And you were there. And throughout this, and I remember right at the get-go of this saying to the team, we need to stick to our knitting here. We just need to keep talking to our customers. We just need to be that go-to should they need any information about anything, or just even a chat. And we remained constant throughout the last 18 months. And genuinely, I think coming out of this, the people who have been present throughout of this will actually really benefit.
Yeah, I think it's definitely one of the things that we're going to be moving forward with is that communication, using Zoom or Teams or whatever. I think it's really important, but I would say, sorry, I'll come to you in a sec. I would say building relationships is very much an in-person enhancement. I'd like to ask you both, how many people have you hugged whilst you've been here? You can't do that
Lots.
on a Zoom call, can you?
Absolutely lots. I've been desperate to hug people.
I was just going to follow up on a question to you, if I could, Neil, in terms of the community that you and Di and the team have created and the content that you're now seeing across the group. How have you seen that evolve? Because I've noticed a difference over the past 4 weeks, even as short as 4 weeks, where there's a lot more requests, there's a lot more recommendations coming through, that community is now showing its strength.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, as we moved into lockdown, there was an initial kind of panic, I think, by everybody, and everything stalled. We kept showing up and trying to be there for everybody, and then slowly but surely, online events started to, the rise of online events came, we started doing the shows and lots of shows about that subject, didn't we, Dom, and the interest in it.
Right, yeah, right from the outset. The show wasn't ever for you and I. It was more for just making sure that the information that needed to be in the hands of event professionals that didn't know where to get it was being placed there. And that's where all of this came from.
Yeah, and then, I will say that a lot of inquiries on the group were exclusively about online platforms, fulfillment, people sending things out to people. But then slowly but surely that has changed now, and we are nearly back to kind of pre-COVID levels of inquiries in terms of numbers. Maybe not quite in terms of venue inquiries. They're coming in massively. I'm just saying, back to pre-COVID kind of levels. But yeah, it has evolved, Jack. It has changed. We're still getting inquiries for both, and I think that will continue for a while. It'll be interesting to see if there's ever a cut-off point. I don't think there will be. Because you could do a conference like this and reach 300 people or reach 3,000 people with online. So people are taking that up, and it's still prevalent on the group.
I'm very aware that we're getting close to time. We've probably got another couple of questions we could cover, but I do think it's important to come back to the main subject is, are we moving forward differently? Are we building back stronger? So Jack, I'm just going to ask for your kind of final wrap-up thoughts. What's your thoughts?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, generally.
Is that easier? I think we are. I think the core strength within our industry is that we are resilient.
Yeah.
You know, we've got the individuals with the right mindset to move us forward.
Yeah.
You know, those that didn't want to stay in this industry through one reason or another have left. Those that want to return will return because they love this industry.
Yeah.
And I think you have to love this industry, you know, to put in the hours, to work with the people, to work in the different events. But you get a lot back.
There's easier ways to earn a living, isn't there? But there's not as many rewarding ways.
So I think we'll have the right people. I think we'll invest in the talent that's coming through, and I think we will move forward because every industry needs the event platform to be able to do what they do.
Yeah. Joe.
Yeah, I think absolutely both. And I think that the blip in the road right now around people has actually probably made us all realise we need to pay people better, we need to train people better, we need to give people better careers in this terrific industry. Yeah. And I think it'll make us all do that because I know lots of organisations are looking internally at how they do that and how they actually get people back to work. So I think we will be doing things slightly different, but we'll absolutely be doing things better. And I think you add that to the sustainability piece, and I think, you know, this time next year we'll all be going, God, what, history. What happened there? But I really genuinely think that, you know, this is a really exciting place to be and an exciting time to be in this industry.
I'm going to put the same question to you, Neil.
Yeah, you know, I'd like to echo what Joe and Jack have said. You know, this industry is all about pushing boundaries, finding solutions, moving forward, you know, be that for ourselves or always for our clients. We're always changing and always developing. We're always improving. So I just can't see us ever standing still. We're always going forward. Okay, we've had this massive blip in the road, but we're moving forward. We're constantly evolving. We're solutions, aren't we? We're all problem solvers. It's what we all do. Yeah. You know, whether you're a salesperson or you're an event manager, all the time you're always solving problems. So yeah, I think we're definitely moving forward.
Good.
Cool.
And long should we? Huh?
What about you? Briefly.
I think we are in the extraordinary position that we couldn't have dreamt of in some ways, whereby we have an opportunity to redefine what we do professionally, what we do personally, and how those two intermingle and mix. Because I think it's shown us an ability to find a far better work-life balance, and we were forced into a position where we had to find a work-life balance that we wouldn't have been able to find had we not had what's happened in the last 18 months. But what happens going forward, I don't think, from my business perspective, just looking at what we do, we're building back, we're doing things a lot differently to what I ever envisaged we would be. And I think that will continue, and we'll continue to build on that, but not lose sight of where we came from, because I think that's also really important.
Yeah, fantastic. So just before we wrap up, any questions from the audience at all? Okay.
Or comments?
I've got one.
Go on.
And this is a really, really important question to you both. In the near future, are you going to join us for a beverage later on?
What do you think?
I hope you can all join us. We'll either be at the party here or we'll be at the Fox later on.
A loft. Oh God, there's so many after parties, but we'll probably see you all at one of them.
Yeah, but thank you very much. I'd like to thank our panellists here, Joe Austin and Jack Saward and Dom and myself. Thank you very much for coming, everyone, and we'll see you later.
Thank you very much.